call this meeting of the General Government and Public Safety Committee to order. I know attendance has already been taken. Any comments from citizens?
Received none.
I didn't either.
Did any of you have any?
No.
Okay. Moving on, Police Department. There's activity report in the packet. Glenn, anything you want to point out?
No, we were able to get the radar unit to work on Highway 22. We actually had it set in both directions at one point in time. Over the course of the last 30 days, it was set on the 12th, and just gotten today the information off. We had 34,000 vehicles move through there in the last 30 days. According to our charts at this point, the top speed that was across Highway 22 in Jefferson was 107 miles an hour. That was one
It
vehicle.
was 30 mile an hour zone.
Yeah.
That was me, I was late for work.
Careful, Colin.
I forgot something. Well, I wasn't late, I forgot something. I was
Over
late.
the 34,000 vehicles that went through there, that's 0.32% of the vehicles totaling were over 86 miles an hour through that speed.
Wow.
But that also includes Audrain, Sheriff's Department, us, fire and ambulance.
Yeah.
So
So that skews the number some.
yeah, it doesn't differentiate between us or the general public.
Does it give you times of day that those
It does.
things happen?
Most of the speeding that would be relevant, that would be like a arrestable offense, would be 8 in the morning, 7 to 8 to about lunch. The most is 18, and that was above 75 miles an hour, was actually at 1 to 2 o'clock. Everything else was like, yes. Everything else was about 8 o'clock until lunch.
I would have expected 12 hours later.
Yeah, that's surprising.
We are running out of places to eat. I mean, who we
So,
got
Could that have been an emergency vehicle?
so,
Yeah, he
Because
did.
Audrain County comes through there about 300 mile an hour, I'm telling you. There's gonna be a
It
major
could be
wreck.
a majority of any emergency person.
107 mile an hour.
They come through there 95 to 100, I guarantee it sometimes.
They do click through there pretty quick.
As
Somebody's gonna
a
die.
person that's been on this side of it, 107's not that unfeasible through there.
Duly noted.
Vehicles
Was that a confession?
Vehicles over the speed limit are 47%, over the total of 34,000 vehicles through that intersection,
And over being,
over 35 miles an hour.
When it gets high enough, does the display change to "Are you kidding"?
You know, I wish it sent out an alert. But,
Top score.
At this point, it's 30 miles an hour, it lets you, it notifies you, 35, it starts flashing, 40, it starts running red and blues at you.
Yeah, that's what it was today.
That's not
From the unit, and I will take this unit, and I think you should take and do something with the information that is. So when that speed instruction
Our graph,
Everybody, here we go. Go ahead.
it even prints out like best time for enforcement, so these are the best times for enforcement that we actually send out to our department. I actually did that today, including the speed graph that shows the percentages of times of when people are speeding, highest rates, and dates that they're doing it. Most days that we're seeing are actually at the very end of the month, is the highest speeds.
And that all it take for the month.
Everybody's got to get to work, you know, into that month paycheck. As far as major events, we only had one major event during Anchor Fest. That was a ride that an operator forgot to lock a door on the rear of the helicopter ride, and it was all the way up in the air and shut down. So the emergency protocols on the machine actually worked as accordingly. It took us about 2 minutes to finally get her down. That was the only actual major event we had.
The camera stuff, you know, it's helping you with getting installed, is that all for the body cam?
Yes, yes, that is something else new. According with, I guess Chief had probably told you all, in the last couple of meetings, we've been trying to get new body cameras and get our Axon, account up to date with them. We finally did that. We finally got our new body cameras in. These are the body camera 3s. There's lots of new features to them. There's 4 microphones. There's dual camera settings on them. The actual runtime is better. They're water resistant, and they have a link to our phones or computers. Before, it took us a very long amount of time to download and actually file the information per cases. Now can be done on our phone. We can actually pull it up instantly, put a case number in with it and what the incident was, traffic stop, domestic, whatever. And when we go to download it, it automatically does it. So our time in the office has greatly reduced.
So it's
because
giving
of
back a
the
lot of
new-
that administrative
Yeah.
time or
Yeah, because each officer had to do that individually in the office. Now we have the option of doing that in the car or just at the call.
Very nice.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other for the police department? Anyone have any questions?
No. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Fire department, Denny's not here, obviously. Activity report. Any questions or comments?
Do you want an update for the fire department?
Absolutely
Denny?
not. I've got no idea. No idea. I know
He's too busy.
Anchorfest was pretty quiet. I mean, we had a little bit on Saturday night, but other than that, it was fairly quiet, so.
Seemed like there were
Good deal.
several calls at the end of Anchorfest on Sunday. Was that
There was a few, medicals, but,
like Chronicle?
yeah,
Yeah.
but other than that, it was,
A seizure and a fainting.
yeah, fainting was the one that was at the very tail end of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Other public safety, emergency management, anything?
No update?
Same with protective inspection?
Yes.
General government and finance bills over $1,250 in the packet. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, economic development, chamber of commerce reports?
We have been very busy with Anchorfest, and we had a couple of ribbon cuttings in May with Monarch Title and the new lab out at the clinic. If you haven't seen that, it's really nice. And they're gonna be, they can do lab work from any doctor, so I think it'll be good for the community. We had a business after hours. We've got another one tentatively scheduled for early July. And that is, will be hosted by Exchange Bank of Missouri, which is the new bank in Hallsville. They have joined the chamber and they wanna be a part of all the communities in the area. So, the wine walk is July 23rd. We have 10 wineries and 2 distilleries. So we're going through the process of liquor license and all of that. And also the Small Town Showcase. I don't know if you've seen that on Facebook. Voting ends July 1st. And what it is, there's a featured 5 communities. And it's the top 5 communities that were nominated that get the most votes. And those communities will, through Missouri Humanities, get a video done, an hour-long podcast, and some exposure in their magazine and throughout the state. So we need people to vote. I posted it again tonight, so the link is there. So you can only vote once, but share and
We'll make sure.
Who are the other ones?
we can add it to ours too as well, right? I mean, we will do that. So
oh, there's several. I mean, in Boone County, Roachport is one of them. But I think Centray and Roachport may be the only Boone County ones, but they're from all over the state. And I know Chillicothe was one of the first years, and their video was really nice. So, you know, that is out there, an opportunity for us. Anchor Fest went well, I think. I do hope the setup, you know, was a little bit of an issue. What I'm gonna try to do is try to pin Richard down early enough so that we can set the date and publicize the date, so that everybody knows when they're gonna start. And I think that will help. A lot of it depends on when the federal government releases the H-2B employees. And this year, they still have not released them. So that cuts down on his employees.
So to dovetail in those, go ahead.
No, in the past, I remember they used to park the rides early at the high school and then bring them down later. And I remember, where Beth sits, you know, sitting there and they would bring a generator in probably on Wednesday. But now they're starting earlier. There were rides up here on Sunday. So is that something that we could go back to, like putting them?
Probably not to get them up in time, because they all have to be inspected after they're set up. I mean, I can talk to him, but I don't know, the amount of time it takes and depending on how much help he has. I mean, this year, help was just really hard to come by. And most of the help he had was from here. Because he didn't have any real help to bring with him. They show up one day and they don't come back the next.
He got help from Centralia? Just, really?
They do.
Yep.
Here.
So he came into town, helped wanted, and people actually,
Yep.
what were they paying? I should have joined up.
15, if you stuck with them the whole time, $15 an hour.
All right.
Just to stand there and push buttons and take tickets though. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty easy job.
Yep.
How did your ticket sales compare to previous years?
We were up a lot on advanced. Part of that was Hubble, because they had offered a sheet of tickets to their employees. So that put us up quite a bit on advanced tickets. But when it totaled out, we were, you know, about where we usually are.
Because there weren't many rides for the older
Yeah.
kids, and I thought.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask the question.
I thought that might really hurt your ticket sales.
I think they already bought the tickets before they knew there wasn't a rides for them.
Well, I can tell you, my granddaughters just kept riding the same big rides over and over for a day and a half.
One of the reason that we didn't have the big rides was a help situation. Not just anybody can run a Ferris wheel and a Pharaoh's Fury. And those people have to be trained and they have to be certified to do that. So you can't just pull somebody out the street to do that.
You can't have a Donnie just do that. Right, I get it.
You know.
But I was wondering, when we get asked that question, so it's good to get that feedback from you, right? Because we wanted to have you come and talk, because we have people ask about that, and it's easy to
Yeah.
explain when we've had that validated through you and what the situation is.
Yeah.
And that's more training, and you have to be,
Yeah.
trained to be able to run those rides, more so the kiddie riders and the other things, so, makes sense.
I do have a question. I've overheard this conversation numerous times, is why didn't they bring a car show in on Sunday, it's during the same period like they have in the past then?
After we had the event and had chosen to have the event last year in August, we had done the car show in June by itself. And the ones who participated in that really liked that because of the amount of room that we had for cars to park. And they could park around the square and be in the shade. We didn't have cars going all the way out to the highway, crossing the railroad tracks, which is an issue. And so we're gonna try it for September, Labor Day weekend, and we're gonna see what happens. I mean, if it doesn't work, there's nothing that says we can't go back.
When I overheard it and I interjected, I said, I think it's just because, given their own separate day and space, instead of combining it all in and not have the
Well,
people there to look at the cars.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity to create another event if we want to, if we wanna add vendors to it, or, whatever, the businesses can be open if they want to, because it will be on a Sunday, so that'll be their choice.
I think it'd probably be good to just see what the turnout,
Just
what
see
the
what
occurrence is in
happens.
September, because you're gonna have people, when anything changes that's been a standard, it bothers them, right? So I think that the real truth will be in how it's attended and how that goes in September probably.
Yeah, we'll just
Did you
have
say
to try it and
September
see.
10th?
September 4th. Thank you.
Anything more for the chamber?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Moving on to the park board, agenda and the minutes in your packet. Any questions or comments?
I've been asked by a lot of people about the hours of the park, of the pool. I've had a lot of people ask about it, what the medical service that I have, and, I hear that they're adding to the hours, or is that, I mean, might be good for us to find that out tomorrow.
They,
They're open
they
late.
posted on their Facebook page whenever they're gonna have extended hours, so they are doing that already.
Okay.
We're doing extended hours as well as what do they call it, a twilight?
Yes, they have some, they already had those
A
kind of
twilight
events.
wheel?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had those events already scheduled. It's in our newsletter.
Yeah, it's in our newsletter.
What?
Mr. Mayor.
Did we send to the people with their bill?
So, we can
I
see
throw
who
out
gets
the
the bill
trash.
at his
It's too
house.
Anything more for park board?
Maybe the alderman can run a night at the pool.
We already have that.
Have
We
you
did?
made it?
It's in the
It's in a-
newsletter.
No,
I
it's in an email we sent it out. It's
It's
July
an-
9th.
it's
It's an
employee
employee
thing.
appreciation. The board's
Oh,
invited.
July 9th. We can
Oh, I
all
not
go.
remember
That's on
seeing.
Saturday.
Only three can get around one another at a time.
Samantha, so I'll make sure you all get it.
It was in your letter, in your,
I know.
Alrighty then. Library board, the agenda and minutes are in the packet. Any questions or comments?
looks nice what they've added over there, I'll say that. Neat addition to put in.
Okay.
Moving on to financial statements, balance sheet, budget report, and treasurer's worksheet. Anything you want to point out, Heather?
No.
Anyone have any questions? We're moving on to other general government, crop view.
So this is something that we've talked about at length in the past. We've had it on the ballot several times. So in order to get ahead of the curve, I'd like to know if the board would like to put this on the November ballot again. So I talked to a few city administrators about that have had successful use taxes passed on the ballot. And when they start collecting, the say for the city of Mexico, I talked to Bruce over there. He said that they were slated to get like 100,000 the first year, and they got 400,000 from this. I don't know if that's what we would get or not, but so I'm just interested to know the board's thoughts on putting this on the ballot. And if we are, then we really need a lot of buy-in, a lot of help, a lot of education, and it means going to Kiwanis and Rotary and maybe doing some public forums and things like that, so that we can let people ask questions about it and get the information out there, because it did narrowly fail last time, because I think that we had so much more education out there about it. So,
We talked before about dedicating the funds or a good chunk of the funds to something specific for a couple of years to help
yes.
push it over that edge. Is that
Yep.
something we should still consider? I mean, hot topics for sidewalks and streets.
Public safety building.
Like sidewalks.
Well, but the thing is, that's, the average voter is probably thinking of streets and sidewalks. I mean, we know what the city could use for the public safety building, but I don't know if that would sell as much.
Have we ever had a program, I mean, we have programs to help people put sidewalks. Have we ever done that for culverts?
We,
Well, we
We
have
actually
kind of
do.
a cost sharing program for culverts,
I know you-
so,
I know you can take them out and install them,
right, so they don't pay for any labor, they just pay for the materials and we provide all the labor.
but maybe you can put something on the cost of the culvert. I mean, because I've walked around the town after big rains, and a lot of the problem here is that culverts aren't moving water. They're plugged. I don't know, that's just a suggestion. Would we have it for sidewalks and tree cutting? I know we have a couple other things, but just an idea.
I think it's something we should look at.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it makes sense.
I mean, you don't want to pay for the whole cost of it, I'm not saying that, but just some incentive toward maybe, I wonder,
Maybe if we use, you know.
what's a 20-foot, 10-inch culvert cost?
They've doubled in the last few years. They're about 400 average. And then you got around 100 or so of rock, just kind of depends on. So, I mean, you're looking at a good $500 to $600 for average driveway possibly.
For that the landowner's out?
Yeah.
Labor's free, so but you can look at something that, you know,
Which is pretty standard for everybody puts in culverts. The homeowner pays for the pipes.
We can absolutely look at that. I can reach out and see if any other cities have kind of model policies and we can look at that.
Yeah, we do the same thing with sidewalks though, to see what other cities do with sidewalks.
Sure.
A lot of other cities aren't as flat as we are either.
That's exactly right.
There's nobody as flat as we are. Terry, you know, we're gonna say what
What's the deadline for doing this? When do we have to have it on by?
We would have to have it on, I mean, we'd have to be looking, I think we passed the ordinance too soon when we had it on the November ballot in 2020. I think that's when we first, or 2019, when we first tried
Yes.
it.
We need to think about it.
I think it's September.
September, we got
Maybe.
the September earlier.
We have until September. But if we know we're gonna do it, then we can start the education process sooner. That gives us
I think
much
that-
more time.
and I think because it was so close the last time, there's a lot of educations going on that you will lose some of that traction to, some people moving, not knowing it.
Yeah.
With someone running, you know, you're gonna have an election coming up, this next year, so.
Well, whatever Dr. Chancellor did as far as communications on their bond issue worked. And so maybe, you know,
Any other comments? Any as may arise?
One thing, we wanna leave this on the agenda each month and to talk about it, so we finalize what we're doing.
That's fine.
That's okay. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those